My name is Louise.
And hi, I'm Emma.
And you're listening to Murder or Myth,
the true crime podcast where not everything is true.
The aim of the game is to find out whether the story is actually a murder or if it's just a myth.
Now, let's get started. So, Louise, I will be telling you the story today of the woman who solved her own case. This is, in fact, a story from... I was about to give it away. I was about to state it.
This is, in fact, a murder/myth.
Yeah, I was about to just... I don't know why I would do that.
This is, in fact... Oh, I wish you'd said, this is actually, because then that would have... hinted me towards, but in fact is kind of neutral.
Yeah, okay. So we're getting back into it. Sorry, listeners. Whoa, that would have been a bad episode. This story begins in 1977, Chicago.
Okay.
So the local fire brigade were alerted to a fire in the Pine Grove Avenue apartments. Many tenants reported the smell of smoke coming from their building and called it in. The firemen were met by a flaming mattress in one of the apartments, and upon further investigation, there was a lifeless body underneath.
Underneath the mattress?
Underneath the flaming mattress, yeah. So, the police department were immediately called to the scene as well, and a murder investigation opened up as the body had a butcher knife still lodged in its chest. The victim was found to be a lady called Teresita Bassa, a respiratory therapist who worked in a local hospital in Chicago. Okay? Teresita? You're just staring blankly.
I was thinking about someone named Teresita being a therapist. Teresita the therapist. It's just such a tongue twister.
So
Teresita
fair.
The therapist.
Teresita was originally from the Philippines, but had lived there for over a decade. She lived alone in the apartment at the time. Friends and family gave accounts to testify against her character, and they stated that she was a well-educated, unassuming lady who kept to herself and was very helpful to others. So they gave no help to the police though, as she had no enemies, so there was no clear-cut suspect or motive to pin down.
Okay.
Many of her belongings were destroyed in the fire, leaving little trace or clues as to what may have happened. However, there was one notebook left. It was her diary, actually, that noted a few words that gave the police, I suppose, a hint or a clue. It read, "Get tickets for A.S." So initials of AS.
Okay.
And they didn't know if it was a name or if it was a company or a business or what it referred to. So time was passing and the police were not coming close to solving the crime, and now it's 6 months after the murder and there was no new leads or suspects or any information for them to follow up on. However, the police get a call from Dr. Jose Chua. He was a surgeon from Chicago, and his wife Remy was a respiratory therapist at the same hospital as Teresita. So Remy works closely with Teresita in the local hospital, and the details of the phone call to the police are interesting, striking, somewhat unbelievable, some would say.
Okay.
So Dr. Chua rang in a tip that his wife Remy had become possessed by Teresita on 3 occasions.
Did not see the story going here.
Yeah, so there's a possession involved. According to him, his wife entered a trance-like state and began speaking in Teresita's native language of Tagalog. Remy herself was familiar with the language but could not speak it. Okay.
Is Tagalog a language in the Philippines?
Yeah, it's their native language.
Oh, their native language?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So this occurrence was obviously alarming, but her husband understood it and relayed the message to the police department. His wife said that... So this is his wife saying it, but so as Teresita
also spoke
Tagalog. He must have, yeah.
Interesting coincidence.
Okay.
I feel that just fell together perfectly.
Sometimes things fall together perfectly in life, Louise.
It's leading me slightly toward murder, but this is a really good story because I'm incredibly confused as to which one it is.
It's very a lot.
Yeah, it's very a lot, for sure.
So he, as again, just to reiterate, anything I said that she said was the possession.
Okay.
And when asked who was speaking, she said, "I am Teresita Bassa." Dr. Chua claimed his wife said during the possession that she didn't want any harm, just to identify the man who murdered her. So she claimed that a man called Alan Showery had come to repair her TV and then stabbed her and stole her jewellery. The detective at the time, Joseph Stachula, stated that he was used to talking to criminals, pimps and deviants, so when he had seen a well-to-do couple that lived in a nice house, he thought he would follow up on the unorthodox tip that was entered by them. So the police took the tip rang in by the Chuas and noted that the initials wrote in her diary matched those of the name given by Remy during her possession. Is that the right word?
Possession?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay. So Alan Showery was an orderly who worked at the same hospital as Remy and Teresita. It was understood that he was in a difficult financial situation and Teresita would ask him to do jobs around her house and pay him well for the work that he done. So the police went to Showery's house and he shared that house with his pregnant partner. They found Teresita's pearl ring and a pendant on Yanka, the girlfriend, that was her name. And when asked, she stated it was a late Christmas present from Alan.
Okay.
So that's how she says she ended up with it. Showery initially denied committing the murder. When he was brought to the police station, he signed a confession, saying that he visited Bassa at her apartment and stole her jewellery, stabbed her before setting the fire and leaving. He later retracted his confession, saying that he was coerced into signing it with the threat of the police arresting his girlfriend because she was the one who had the jewellery on her.
Okay, makes sense.
His lawyers called for the trial to be scrapped as it was based off a ghost story. However, the judge decided for the trial to go ahead despite their claims that the basis of the arrest meant nothing, that there was just a phone call.
It was just Remy all along, but he was like, why not make up this really elaborate story just to like...
That's so
or
fair.
like Remy's wife or something.
Well, Remy was the wife.
Sorry, imagine it was... imagine it was Remy all along. What was the man's name? Her husband's name?
Jose.
Imagine it was like Remy or Jose all along, but they just made up the story.
That's so true.
Like, how would you get the jewellery on the woman, I guess?
That's so true.
Yeah.
Good thinking. But...
Interesting. Okay.
Sorry,
continue.
The trial received huge publicity and ended in a mistrial with a deadlocked jury. A month later, though, however, while waiting for a new trial to begin, Showery changed his plea to guilty out of nowhere. They sentenced him to 14 years for murder, robbery and arson. In court, however, even though he got put to jail eventually. In court, however, though, the I suppose theory that you just mentioned was actually used by his lawyers to try and pin the murder on the Chuas.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were like, how come, what if it was them? And they came up with a story and they thought that Remy gave the jewellery to sold it to them, that family.
Okay, yeah.
So that was an actual theory in the court.
But then the AS in her jewellery, but buy ticket, in her diary. But then I guess she could have just been doing something else with him. She did
yeah, so it
work
was
with them, I guess.
So later that theory was completely kind of said that it was never really considered.
That's
but
a bit, what's that word for it?
Coincidental?
Is it coincidental or like what's the word when it's like it could be, but then also there's no guarantee?
I know what you're on about.
Yeah. Something it's like something evidence.
Circumstantial.
That's circumstantial, yeah. Okay,
so he went to jail and he stayed there till 1983, just 6 years after her death. So he did go to jail, was sentenced to 14 years, only done 6, and after that he went on to live a quiet life.
1986, he just got freed.
Just got free. And that is the story of the woman who solved her own case, Teresita Bassa.
Okay. Did Teresita continue to possess this body, or?
No, the 3 times that Remy got possessed were the only 3 times she ever got possessed in her life.
And he just got freed randomly after 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's a murder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any details on that? Or are you just gonna say it?
I feel like if he was freed after 6 years, you would have given a reason if you were writing it.
Okay.
Because it's a bit random. I feel like you would have just left him in there, you know?
Okay. Rotten hell.
Yeah. He would have just served his time. The butcher knife under the mattress is quite a specific way to go.
Yeah, so true.
You definitely could have thought of it, but it just maybe makes me think it's a murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess just the general vibe of the story. Like, if it's a myth, I'll be really impressed with how it was written because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know that it was actually a murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there's a few other bits I didn't want to say because I was like, that's so
She's
obviously...
such a cheater, Emma.
No, it's so obviously a murder. She was actually wrote a book about the ordeal. It's called A Voice from the Grave. And a quote he said was, "All of us want to believe in life after death." That was the doctor. And the case also featured in Unsolved Mysteries. And then they also turned it into a movie called Voice from the Grave.
My God. It truly seems like it was these people and they just like got away with it and were like, fuck
they
it,
really wanted to make a lot of money.
Crazy. How far can we push this?
So apparently the lady who was possessed led a normal life after all the media attention. And yeah, like you said, that theory that they done it was actually, like, in more detail, Remy and Shari worked together. So Remy may have found out something incriminating about Shari through the hospital. And it's possible that she had a grudge against Shari, and it's reported that he made complaints about her quality of work. So before the murder. So it's kind of like, even if none of them murdered the person, she pinned it on him and got the jewelry and sold it to him.
The diary is an interesting detail though, but again, maybe it is
the diary, because
that does link him without her, the AS.
Yes, but what if she murdered her for some reason and wrote, "Get tickets to AS," or whatever, for AS, and then...
Fair, but did she have a motive to murder her?
Probably not, no. It said they were, like, good friends, like...
Put it on your man, but I feel like that's like, if she was friends with her, she wouldn't use her in getting revenge, if you get me.
Yeah, that would seem senseless.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's what happened.
That was a good story.
Thank you.
Okay, well... this has been Murder or Myth with your hosts, Louise and Emma.
On this week's episode, Louise found out my murder story was in fact a murder.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Find us on all streaming platforms.
Join us next week for another thrilling adventure.
And remember, it's myth until proven murder. Schley.